Raymond Anthony Vincent Baang Catania. Yeah, that's my full legal name. Yeah, Anthony Vincent, named after some uncles on my Sicilian side, and Baang is my mother's maiden name. Yeah, my mom is Francesca Baang. Yeah, Alice Francesca Baang, and I get the family name. Filipino style is to keep the family name. Yeah, you know, as part of your name. So, and my last name is Catania because I'm Sicilian. Yeah, half Sicilian. My father was a jazz musician, and he came to Hawaii during World War II to play music. And I was born in 1950. Today I'm 67 years old. So April 9th, this coming April 9th, I'm going to be making 68. And I'm still politically active, yeah, very much, you know. And I'm on a mission. I grew up in several places. First place I grew up was Damon Track on Oahu. You know where they get the airport now? All us guys was evicted. We were kicked out right before statehood because they was building the airport, yeah? Things was happening really fast. Now, today, I realize that we were part of the completing the colonization of Hawaii, yeah? You know, and it needed that big international airport. And it was a community of a lot, it was working class, it was blue collar, you know. And my family split up. We moved to central Oahu and ended up in Waipio Acres, which is just outside of Waiwa, you know. And the state never find nobody housing. There was no relocation plan. Everybody was on their own. Eh? You know, you get kicked out and then you go. By the time that I became 16, 17, 18 years old, I was getting sick of the developments that was coming up, yeah, because I was surfing, yeah. And you know, when you, as a young surfer, you're very aware about the developments that are coming up because you're getting closed out at certain beaches. You cannot go in, yeah. These rich people from America was buying up properties, and we would go to the North Shore and to Eva, and we'd learn how to surf. And people that bought properties next to the beach, they would try to keep us out. I began to pull things together too. But at the same time, actually, the thing that really would get me going was the Vietnam War. What happened was that my stepdad was a member of Peace and Freedom Party.
Whoa.
Yeah, at that time, and he would bring home some stuff from the university, yeah, and from working with those activists, yeah, SDS activists and stuff like that. He would bring stuff home, and I would read them, you know. And then we had a lot of radical literature lying around the house, yeah. Ramparts magazine. Yeah, we had Ramparts magazine. We had some books from Mao, and some writings of, you know, Marx and all that kind of stuff. So I had seen those kinds of things, yeah, and I was beginning to read it, beginning to put it in play. And at that time that I was growing up, I was really aware of what was going on with the Vietnam War, with the civil rights movement, and in particular, you know, it's hard to follow because never have the internet in those days, yeah. And hard to get that kind of information through the libraries and stuff. Mario Savio and the free speech movement that was in Berkeley, all those kinds of things that I was following. And then what happened was that my brother was 16, I was 17, and we were really upset with the war in Vietnam because, you know, people would be going and they don't come home alive. And we were very aware of what was going on. And then, but our sympathies was to the Vietnamese, you know, because, you know, they were just like us local guys, you know, invaders coming in, taking up all the surf sites and building homes and fancy places. We're beginning to make the connections then, yeah? But what happened was that my brother and I, we decided to do something. See, we gotta do something. This Vietnam War is a bunch of shit. We gotta do something, yeah. So what we did was that, you know, every once in a while, you know, they used to have students going into the, you pass out messages and stuff like that, yeah. Those kind of assignments, yeah. And they taught us how to use a mimeograph machine. Little did I know, that was my calling right there for then. I learned how to use the mimeograph machine, and I mimeographed some leaflets, you know. And I drew a dove, you know, and, you know, with flying with the, what do you call that now?
Olive branch.
Yeah, the olive branch, and then inside I said, you know, end the war in Vietnam, you know. And so what happened was that my brother and I, we went to Our Lady of Sorrows Church where we used to go, the Catholic church. We was raised as Catholics. Yeah. We made that flyer, and we went to a service, you know, an evening service, an evening mass, and we passed out that flyer in the church. and they kicked us out of the church, yeah, grabbed us by our scruff of our necks and literally kicked me in the ass outside, you know. And we never went back to church after that. We never went back to church. That was my first political activity, you know, and that was the first leaflet that I would help print up.
How old were you?
17. 17 years
Still in
old.
high school then?
Yeah, still in high school.
What high school did you go to?
Lelihua.
Lelihua.
Just like those Parkland students who 16 and 17, yeah, that first experience in their life going to open up the world to them, you know, because they're learning about the National Rifle Association and the conservatism of the Republican Party. It's going to really open up, and if they really further go into that thing, they're going to find out that the guns that they're talking about was to kill off the Indians and to keep the blacks down. That's how this fucking gun craze started. You know what I mean? Because it's mostly white guys because they're scared that we're going to rebel, yeah? You know what I mean? And take over the world, eh? When I went to Leeward College, I got to meet a lot of young rebels, yeah, who were against the war in Vietnam. And we had a demonstration, you know, and against the war. And we marched from Leeward Community College all the way to the state capitol, you know. And it was about 60 of us marching. It was mostly all guys, you know what I mean? And the women thought they were crazy, that they didn't like come around and hang with us because they don't can trust guys in those days. The main guy who would push us for march was āina. āina, he was teaching religion 151, yeah. And he said that, you know, and then he made me the, what do you call that now? The
Marshall.
He made me something over there. He made me the kind of ad hoc. It's the first time I ever heard of the word ad hoc. What the fuck is ad hoc? You're going to be ad hoc chairman. And so, but the thing is that it was like me and Pete Thompson. Remember Pete, yeah?
Pete was at Leeward.
Pete was Leeward too. Yeah, and Pete was our brain. He was our brain. He was our debater. He was the one who would debate the right-wingers about the war. And the thing about Pete was that he went pro harbor, yeah? He was working at Pearl Harbor, so he understood the mentality of base workers, yeah, you know, and that's where he learned how to hone his debating skills, I guess, you know. But he was our brain, yeah, and I worked with him. I was one of the main organizers of the march, and those guys who met us at the state capitol, they were very surprised because you get all these brown-skinned people, yeah, you know. Usually they figure only Howley is going to be involved, yeah?
These brown-skinned people can talk too.
Yeah, we're not stupid, you know. We're the ones who suffering the most, right? Once we get activated, that's it, you know. So we walked all the way to the Capitol, and we were getting jeered, you know, by a lot of working class folks, yeah. Especially when we passed Pearl Harbor, yeah, it was going crazy about us. But that was one of the first activities I helped to organize on that campus, you know. And then later on, we formed a chapter of SDS, yeah, Students for Democratic Society, and we had the help of Ed Casey, who was a professor there. He would help us form that chapter. I got really into studying about Hawaiian history, and you know, like Merle was talking earlier about the time that America would take over Hawaii. Same thing, they take over the Philippines, you know, and they take over other places at the same time, you know. And so then you learn that everything's connected, yeah? Hawaii, Cuba, Puerto Rico, the Philippines, they're not separate issues. They're all related, and you learn about imperialism, because the reason why the United States went to war in Vietnam, you learn that is because you know, they hated Vietnamese. They went there for natural resources and cheap labor, and you know, to control the economies of the world, to boost their profits. That's the kind of stuff that was beginning to learn. So we were really open to the ideas of Marxism, you know, really open. And I really got into Marxism in my first 2 years of college. Yeah. So by the time I went to UH in 1970, I considered myself a communist. Yeah. You know, obviously I cannot walk down the neighborhood and tell people that, but that's where my thinking was coming from. Yeah, I was open to the ideas of Marxism, and till this day, I consider myself a Marxist. Yeah. And I'm not afraid to tell people that, you know, whoever they are, you know. I'll tell them that I support socialism and believe in Marxism, yeah. I've studied it, and that's my guiding principle in life. John Whittick was there, and what do you call them now? John Kelly was around there, and Larry Kamakaviva-Ole was there. Yeah, Larry was a big influence in my life too, because he helped to start the ethnic studies program. The Hawaiian Studies class was Larry Kamakaviva-Ole. So Larry K did a lot in educating us guys. John Whittick did a lot in educating us guys, because John Whittick introduced us to Kalani, you know, Kalani Ohelo. And there was this one thing called the Youth Congress,
Yeah.
that what do you call that now? That John Whittick would help to organize, yeah?
Right.
And one of his main speakers was Kalani Ohelo. Kalani was a big influence on me too, you know, because he was this really strong, proud Hawaiian man, you know, who went through difficulties in his life at Pololo housing and, you know, being one Hawaiian and the lands taken from them, and he was so articulate, yeah? And it's the first time I ever heard in my life anybody talk about independence from the United States, yeah? You know, was Kalani and Roland Nip.
Rolling.
Yeah, Roland Nip, they was with Locals for Peace, they was there too, yeah? And that's the first time I heard about those kinds of things. In terms of Kalama Valley, I was taking the Hawaiian Ethnic Studies course over at UH, being taught by Larry and there's one Filipino guy, his name is Omar, forgot his last name though, yeah. And Omar used to teach the class, and he was really a real strong anti-imperialist, you know, and had this other guy, his name was Ahmad, I forgot his last name, he was Indonesian, you know, and they would talk about US imperialism in the Pacific and in Asia all the time. And then Omar, he educated me a lot too. He was saying that the only time you see brown people at the University of Hawaii is at night when they're cleaning up, you know. So he told me to hang around with him nighttime. And I did hang around with him. And I seen all the Filipinos and the Hawaiians and whatever's coming in for clean the place. And he would say that's how capitalism works, yeah. It uses race to divide people, you know, and you know, race and class, they intermingle with each other. So I learned a lot from him too. But Larry K was such a passionate speaker, yeah, you know. And what happened was that John Kelly and John Whittick found out about Kalama Valley first, yeah. And so what they did was that they came to us, to the students at the University of Hawaii, in particular the students that were in the Ethnic Studies department, and they got us motivated. Now in that poster that I showed you guys on Kalama Valley, there's the 3 arrests, you know. There were 3 arrests. There were two arrests before the third one, with the 32 of us. Kalama was really good because it opened our eyes to what was going on in the world, not just Hawaii, yeah. You know, we got real good education in those days, yeah, you know. And, you know, we could talk about, among each other, about what was going on, you know, with Cuba, with China. You know, we shared books with one another on Marx, you know. You know, we had no fear in reading the Communist Manifesto and the Paris Commune and, you know, imperialism, the highest stage of capitalism. All these kind of books we passing around each other, yeah.
It was important to read them.
Yeah, important to read that kind of stuff. You know, the basic that I learned from Marxism was the class struggle. You know, was the class struggle of workers getting together, fighting for a better life, yeah. And as the more I got into it, you know, it made me get more, you know, more convinced on things to do. You know, and then what happened? One of the outgrowths of that was the print shop that we had. Yeah, yeah. And,
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, the print shop that we had. So the print shop was started by Anthony Van Kralingen, or Van. He was the teacher, but it was started by John Kelly because John was able to get the funds, and we started it at Windward Community College. And the guy, Anthony Van Kralingen, or Tony, people call him Tony or Van. He met my stepdad before he met me, because my stepdad was over at the University of Hawaii and hanging around with Peace and Freedom, yeah? And they had put out a newspaper of which Anthony Van Kralingen put out with SDS and other radicals, of which my stepdad was bringing home and sharing with me. The newspaper was called The Roach.
The Roach?
Yeah, The Roach. And Roach Clips. That was the first radical left-wing, you know, I would say new left paper, because it had the Hawaii Record, or Honolulu Record, yeah? Yeah, that was put out by Koji Ariyoshi, yeah? But this stuff was culturally different. It was a reflection, the cultural changes that was going on. Roach Clips, you know? So, there's little small bits of news, you know? But yeah, that was the paper.
That was the first one, the newspaper of the new generation.
Yeah, the new generation, yeah. of the new left was the Roach, and then later on had Hawaii Free People's Press. Yeah, that was the one that Mervyn and I was giving out to people. Yeah.
You founded it?
No. That was founded by Mervyn Chang and Van, Mervyn and Van, yeah, and other assorted radicals. And that's where we met Soli when we was in Kalama Valley. We were distributing the paper to anybody that was coming into the valley that day, and Mervyn Chang and myself, and that's when we met Soli.
First time?
The first time we met Soli, and we didn't like him.
Oh, tell that story.
We didn't like him. We thought he was a narc, you know, because
he just came back from college.
yeah, he just came back from college too, and he's walking around with, you know, looking innocent, hands in his pocket like that. So Mervyn was telling me, you know, these Kanekas, you gotta watch them because they might be narcotics agents, they might be narcs. Yeah? So how you know that, Mervyn? Because, you know, Mervyn older than me, I gotta look towards him, man. He's like a big brother. He's like, oh, look at him, the bugger wearing hush puppies. That's one of the signs of the narcotic agents. They wear hush puppies and aloha shirt, you know, and they're really neat, and they use deodorant and they smell clean, you know. So you know he's an imposter, you know. He's not a real Hawaiian, you know. So he came around and he looked at our papers and he was really interested in it, yeah. You know, he was really looking at it and stuff. And then Mervyn and me would tell him, Mervyn, hey bro, you a narc? You're a narcotics agent, tell you. So, and then we whipped, where you in school? Come in there. Yeah, you gotta be a narcotics agent. I tell him, yeah, me, I don't trust narcotics agents, you know. You know, you're gonna turn us guys in for smoking marijuana, you know, just giving him a hard time. But he would come to meetings and he would persist, you know. And then as more as he came around and we heard him talk and him put stuff together, we changed our mind quickly. The guy knew what he was talking about, you know. But that was our first first encounter with him. I'll never forget it, you know. He was insulted.
Anybody would, I think.
I'm Hawaiian, you guys, I bet you guys know Hawaiian, I'm Hawaiian. You guys don't know what the hell you're talking about, you know what I mean?
That's what he was saying. Cool.
Yeah, I'm Hawaiian, you guys are not. You guys are not Hawaiian, you know what I mean? You guys look like paques. Oh yeah, we would drill him, you know. We never trust him. But hey, you know, it's funny, yeah. Some people meet and they know each other like that, yeah. But he was he was a solid guy, yeah. So that's how we met him, and then Larry Kamakovivo'ole was one of our main spokespersons too, yeah, and Kehauli, you know, and you know, and it was really exciting times, and we had what's her name now, Edwina Akaka Moani Keala, yeah, she was one of the spokespersons too, you know, and Kalani Ohelo. The print shop had a lot to do with organizing around Kalama Valley. Kokua Hawaii printed up a lot of leaflets, yeah, and I don't have them, you know. I may have a few lying around my house. I got to look at it. You like hear a story about the poi pounder, about that thing. Okay, what happened was that Claire and I, Shimabukuro and I were doing the banner, you know, and then after I won right Hawaii, she said, Ray, you spell them wrong. You spell them Hawaii. I said, oh my God. So I had to go cut out cloth, and we had to cut them over so the stuff would be Hawaii, yeah? Had W in front of the two I's, yeah? So we had to go cover that over and do them again, yeah? So that poster, yeah, was Kokua Hawaii. And then the poi pounder, which is being used by Hawaiian groups today, I drew that. I drew that. But you see, the thing is that John and Van was telling us that symbols are really important, yeah? You got to do symbols that catch the people's eyes and they can always remember. And then, you know, Soli was telling me, Ray, go do the kind. Go make one fist with one poi pounder. You know what I mean? Because this thing is about Hawaii and the Hawaiian culture and saving the land.
So he said that?
Yeah, he told me that. So we did that, you know, and then, but, you know, John and what do you call that now? And Van would say symbols are really important. Yeah, but Soli was encouraging me to do that. And so we did it. He did a lot of encouragement, you know, the guy. So yeah, those symbols are very, very important, and they're around today. I know Hawaiian groups use them, yeah. you know, in their graphics at a Poi Pounder, yeah.
So
You know.
all this graphics, well, that came from actually you and Soli interacting.
Yeah, yeah, Soli and myself interacting, and Van and John Kelly. Now,
Clear.
yeah. And John Kelly, I turned it into a poster of an ulua chasing mullet, yeah.
Oh.
And the mullet is all scattering, yeah.
I think I saw that.
Yeah, it's around. And then in the next frame, it shows the ulua the mullet all organized together in one force, and they're chasing the ulua.
They turned into a big fish, right?
Yeah. That was a graphic that I give John Kelly credit for, you know.
Related to that, you told us a story about Soli and the chopsticks.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
What happened was that we had moved into Kalama and Kokua Hawaii, and that was we was going to try to organize the people over there, you know, around housing issues in particular, you know, welfare rights, housing issues, and whatever. And so I had, you know, myself and Soli had found out an eviction that was taking place with the Hawaii Community College expanding its trades building, you know. And the people over there that live in a community, they're not against trades or expansion of the school, but not into their community because they was going to get evicted. And so we had a meeting one night that we called a meeting, and Soli and John was telling me that they're going to give me the chopsticks. And so, you know, and Soli showed me, I told him, oh, Soli, I'm kind of scared for running a meeting, you know. I've never run a community meeting before, so no worry, you're going to get them. They're going to listen to you because you're going to do the chopsticks. I go, what the f are you talking about, the chopsticks? John, give me the chopsticks. And so what happened was that they had a pile of chopsticks with rubber bands, and they took them out and tell me, here, you break them separately. I said, yeah. Well, what's your point? You know, it's they breaking them because, well, if you stick them all together, let me see if you try to break them. Well, I know can. Well, that's what you got to do when you go to the meeting. You talk about individual chopsticks or individual fingers, we can easily get broken. But if we stick together like this pile of chopsticks, nobody can break us, yeah? And they all loved it. The people all loved it, and they knew that we could fight the eviction. You know what? We did. Nobody got evicted, yeah? A couple of years, nobody got kicked out of their houses and stuff, you know? So that's where the chopstick story came from, and that was from Soli, you know? Soli really understood the local culture, yeah?
And he understood a broader picture of things,
yeah,
right?
he understood the broader picture of things, you know.
Yeah.
He knew that it was the capitalist system and that we had to change society. And, you know, and he would always say stuff like, you know, I don't want to just rock the boat. I want to huli the boat, yeah? I want to turn it over, yeah? So that was Soli's idea, was that we was going to have revolution. We need a revolution. Not just get a few Hawaiian faces in there like John Waihe'e, you know what I mean? Or even Oha. Oha, which is a scam, you know? It's a misleader of the Hawaiian people. And so it's to change the system completely where people get control over the resources and over the land for the benefit of all, yeah? You know, that's where Soli was coming from. So he tried to break it down in a way that people could understand what huli was about revolution, yeah?
We were talking about later about Soli being a, you know, he went away for school. I think San Jose State College.
Yeah,
City
San
College
Jose City College. Anyway, he went to school in San Jose.
And he got understood about the Black Panthers there, and he was actually, he said he was organizing there. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was a guy. He was learning how to organize over there. But he said it was time for him to come back home and organize his own people. You know, see, he said he was good learning from the blacks on how to organize, and he said he was really learning a lot from them. What is important for him to come back home. Larry Kamakaviva, I think he also knew Bobby Seale, yeah? Those guys, yeah. You go ask Larry about that if you get a chance, yeah. But those guys really were really influenced by the Black liberation struggle. You know, the Black liberation movement continues.
I think all of us,
yeah,
you know?
Yeah, till this day.
Yeah.
They still influence us, yeah? You know,
sure.
They're very advanced in their thinking, you know, and so, and they take a lot of action. Larry Kamakaviva had a lot to do getting us involved, yeah, you know. John Whittick played a big role too in getting supporters around the Kalama Valley, you know. In fact, it's kind of interesting, the race question, yeah, because it was John Whittick and John Kelly that were really for the Howleys to leave. Yeah,
they were Howleys, and
yeah, there was really pushing hard for the Howleys to leave.
What was their reason?
Because they said the Howleys going to try to take over. You know, And
How about the symbolism, you know?
and the symbolism too. The symbolism was there. The Hawaii's going to take over. That's one of the reasons why the Pacific Rim Collective on 10th Avenue never like get involved. They told us because yeah, they never like yeah.
No, her Takahashi, you know, we were organizing out there to stop the eviction, like the high school students were passing
Yeah,
out
you guys were doing
leaflets.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, we participated in
Yeah.
stuff. And then he came down with this decision, no one from the house can go into the
Yeah.
valley. And the
Yeah.
reason was too dangerous for you folks. And I'm like, we're talking about it to people and we're not going to put ourselves on the line? How
Yeah.
ridiculous, you
Yeah.
know? And so we were so mad.
I know you guys were mad. You guys were pissed off, and this is what happened. Was that the night before the occupation? Kalani was there. And I'll get back to the racial thing. Yeah. Kalani was at the meeting. I was at the meeting. This Korean guy from Wahiawa was at the meeting, which John Saxon and I had recruited. I think Guy came out to talk to us, Guy and Mel, and they're telling us that we shouldn't be going because they never use a safety thing. They use the thing that the Hawaii's, we're going to get associated with the Hawaii's and the local people not going to understand.
That's not what we were told.
Yeah, we were told that the Hawaii's going to get involved and they're going to, the SDS and the other Hawaii's going to try to take over. And we told them, well, you know, more or less in so many words, fuck you, I'm going to go. You know what I mean? Because that's the thing to do. We need action, not just talk. And the Hawaii's not going to take over because we know what the doing. You know what I mean? But John Kelly and John Whittick was for the Hawaii's to get out of the valley, yeah? You know, and because they said that they didn't want the Hawaii leftists to change the narrative or get control of the narrative, yeah. And I had believed that only as a tactical kind of thing, not as a kind of thing that's going to be like that forever, yeah. But Soli was definitely for getting the Hawaii's out, yeah, because you know he was getting irritated by them already, yeah. He was getting irritated by the SDS guys, you know, and then you know he never liked them, you know, he never liked them get involved. So what happened was that the night that we decided to have them leave, John Kelly went talk to the Howleys that they gotta go, and they was pissed off. And then I had to talk to the locals. I was the one assigned to talk to the locals that the Howleys gotta go. You know what I mean? and then you know, and then John Kelly was saying, you know, we can go all over the world. You know, we can go here, there, South Africa, and you know, the West has a long history of conquering the world. And this is not about white people, but it's about the privilege. He's talking about white privilege, yeah? That white people can go all over the world. And what's going to happen is that the press is going to try to gear it up that white people and outsiders are controlling Kalama Valley. And we want to get the word out there that it's the local people with the Hawaiians playing the central role about this struggle, you know. And then when I talked, I said, well, you know, the Howleys got to leave because they tend to take over, you know what I mean? And but it's not, I don't like Howleys, you know, I'm part Sicilian myself. A lot of us local people walking around with European blood, even a lot of Hawaiians, you know. But the thing is that culturally there's a tendency for the white radicals to take over. And that's what I was saying. And inside I never really believed that, but we had to do it, yeah? You know, and so they were asked, and so we was asking the local people to understand that, yeah? And most of them did, but some of them never like it. You know, they said that that's racist, you know, we shouldn't be organizing according to race, even though the Hawaiians are getting screwed over, and there's a history of all the people getting screwed over by the plantation bosses and all that. It's a kind of thing where everybody's in it together, yeah? So that was some of the reasoned voices that came out. But they never make a real big fight about it, yeah? John Kelly and, like I said, John Whittick were really for it, and Soli, and not Soli, but Soli was really for it as well. But Larry K. and what's his name now, Kalani, didn't like it. They didn't like it, you know. I thought it was okay, and so did Claire. Was for tactical kinds of things, yeah. But as time got on, and time did, you know, like I went to Chicago and came back, you know, and I got to really understand things more. I felt that it was the wrong thing to do. Like today, I still think it's a wrong thing to do. Telling people that they can come because they're race, yeah, for whatever reason. Because I feel that we should be strong enough and have confidence enough in our own abilities to organize and to sway people, you know, that we don't have to tell anybody to leave, because that's not the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And
Consciousness.
consciousness. What really convinced me of that when I lived in Chicago, because I lived in a community of Mexican workers, who constantly used to get caught by La Migra, and sent back, but they would come back again, and they would tell me that it's sin fronteras. People go all over the world without borders looking for work. In fact, when you stay up there in space, I guess, and you look at the world, no more lines. Yeah, no more lines. No more lines. No more lines. No more walls. Yeah, that's a construct of tribalism and nationhood. Yeah, you know what I mean? That construct. Yeah, and it's a dangerous one too, because the revolutionaries, we believe in the international working class, right? The song "The Internationale" is about workers and our ability to unite with one another, not based upon race, or nationality. But our enemies is the capitalist class, and its agents, So, as time went on, I began to realize that that's the wrong way to look at the world, It's you have to organize according to class. Although race is a big issue, and we have to take that into consideration. Racism. Yet at the same time, even among national groups that are oppressed and groups, racial minorities, there's even a class struggle within those people too, of those that are on the higher ups. They want to control the struggle and misguide it, because they want to continue to make shekels and make money for themselves and have power at the expense of the working class, So, within any national movement, like the Hawaiians, you have the great majority of them are working class people, maka'inana, but then you have a few like John Waihe'e and those in Oha that are leaders. They want to control the whole damn thing for themselves, and so you see the young ones moving today, and the ones without power getting arrested and taking a stand, but they know that distinction. But within any movement, you have class divisions, and the movement has to be based on the working class and the most oppressed. That's where the power is. Although, we will have allies and from other classes and stuff, we can't let those that have intentions of glory, and building up, their personal wealth being ahead of the movement, because they'll misguide us and things up along the way, So anytime you have people that's divorced from labor and divorced from work, and divorced from actually doing all the organizing, that kind of can happen, So in the long run, I think that at that time it seemed maybe correct thing to do strategically, to ask the white people to leave. I would never do that today. I would never tell nobody that they're not welcome according by their race. I would be really ashamed and disgusted to do something like that. I would never, and I'll walk away from it. But at that time, because of the third world liberation movements, the Black Panther Party, the Young Lords, the Vietnam War, what was going on with China and everything, the racial question wasn't that clear, Nationalism stood in the way,
Sure.
And that's the problem with a lot of nationalist movements, is that they base their movements on race and culture, instead of class. So, what do you call that? We were able to get recruited by Larry Kamakawiwa Ole and others to come and participate in supporting the people of Kalama Valley. Now we had people like coming over, that Kalani Ohela was coming in speaking in our class, John Whittick was coming speaking to our classes, Marion Kelly was coming to speak to our classes and everything, and we studied books like Frantz Fanon's Wretched of the Earth, stuff like that,
Kimo Ing was saying that in the Kalama Valley, he was saying, we got to do a lot of PE.
PE, political education. He remembers it. Kind of funny. We used to do a lot of PE.
But then Kokua Hawaii started after the valley occupation, or during?
First it was Kokua Kalama, and then during the occupation, then Kokua Hawaii went formed. But before that, it was Kokua Kalama. Kokua Kalama Committee.
How did they decide to do an occupation?
We knew almost everybody was gone. The only one that was really left was a few, like George Santos, and who we had rallied around, George, the pig farmer. It wasn't even Hawaiian, and but he was a local guy, one Portuguese farmer. And
Very outspoken.
very outspoken. And when he spoke, the kids loved him. The young people really loved what he had to say. It was like one big farmer Trump, I guess, you know. So anyway, the world's most...
Moose Louie was still there?
Moose Louie.
Yeah, Moose Louie was an alcoholic, but he was still there. But he was a supporter of the struggle. In fact, he was a construction worker, yeah. And he was a supporter of the struggle. What happened was that in the beginning it was Kokua Kalama, then became Kokua Hawaii, you know. And we started to get more education, yeah. You know. I remember talking to Larry K. Larry Kamakavivo, I said, you know, the Kaimoki house, that guy's get plenty of political education, you know. That guy's studying this and he's studying that. And then he would tell me, oh, we got to study that stuff too. He goes, but we need action too, you know. I says, right, we need action. So that's where the idea came from, that we're going to occupy the place. Even though that we knew we were going to lose, what we had to do was to take a stand so that people could remember that, you know, and they could feed off of that and organize other battles. So that's where it came from, the occupation, you know. And sometimes you got to take political action, occupations, blockades, you know, sabotage, all these kinds of things you got to do sometimes so that you can get the word out, yeah, you know. I'm not talking about firebombing and breaking windows and stuff like that. Yeah, you know, can use violence, yeah, because you're going to turn people against you. We knew that too. And the reason why I brought that up is because we're talking about using guns in Kalama Valley, yeah. We had a discussion about using guns. And so that was really heavy discussion because some of us, especially the veterans, wanted to use guns, yeah. We had quite a few veterans, you know. John Saxon, Ed Ching, Butchie Goodness, and you know other guys, and I believe James Ng was a veteran too. Yeah,
Chemo.
Yeah, Chemo. So they some of them were open to using guns. Not very many of us outside of the veterans had opportunities to use guns. Yeah, I think Soli was a veteran too. Yeah, so you know those guys, the older guys within the group had the experience with using guns who were veterans, yeah. And, you know, I had ROTC, so I was familiar using one, you know, M15 or whatever we was using, you know, an ROTC. And then, but outside of that, I never used guns, you know. And so, but I was kind of confused if we should use it or not. And then, you know, and then John Saxon says, you know, I'm half black and I'm half Hawaiian and I have the taste of blood on my lips, you know. And I don't mind killing some pigs. Get kid. And Ed Ching was going, well, you know, I used to drive around the howlies before the commanders. You know, I don't mind taking down a few, you know, talking shit like, oh, this guy bullshit coming out. And then George Santos went, shut up, everybody. Shut up. None of you know how to use guns. And if we get guns, you guys are going to end up shooting yourselves. You guys are so stupid. He pointed at me, you dumb Filipino, you don't know how to fucking use one gun, so I'm not going to use gun. Yeah, you probably shoot yourself. The only one who's going to use gun is me, you know what I mean? And I don't like use one gun, you know, I don't like use one gun. But the only one that really know how to use them is me. So we're not going to use any guns. And that was it. George put his foot down. We weren't going to have guns, you know? And boy, what a relief, because I never like died, you know. I never like say nothing because I'm like come off like on pound here, but I went, whoo, inside. Good, because I don't like die, man. Because I know what happened to the Panthers. The guys had guns, they were killed. You know what I mean?
Footage.
Yeah, we saw footage on TV.
Set up.
Yeah, the Panthers were set up. If you get guns, they're going to come after you. The thing that I learned in Kalama Valley was that we have to learn how to commit acts of sabotage and disruption of the enemies without being violent, yeah. And there's ways of doing it, yeah. You know, I've learned a lot from MLK and his movements to how to disrupt, you know, and how to, you know, do things that you can hinder the you know, the powers that be, but you don't have to use weapons, because if you use weapons, you're going to lose, because they get bigger weapons, they get better weapons, and they get trained. They train how to kill, and they learn how to do that. They do that every day, you know what I mean? And you're going to get it. So, you know, with nothing. So
what we got to do is change their consciousness, because it happens, right? The military.
Yeah, sometimes their consciousness can change.
Yeah,
you know, they can, like in Egypt, you know, the soldiers came out and they supported the demonstrators. But then after that, you know, after he got rid of Mubarak, The guys went back again to the same old thing in Egypt, yeah. All sissy and everything. The guys went kill the Muslim Brotherhood and whatever. That's another story. But the thing is that the movement today, we don't need guns and we don't need violence because that's all they want us to do is to carry a gun and they're going to kill us. Because you can imagine.
There's a reason.
Yeah. You can imagine what it was on Muslim that would do the Parkland murder, yeah. All this shit about stopping Muslims coming in here and M13 and all this kind of anti-immigrant shit can come up, so we cannot get associated with stuff like that. So, provocateurs are always around, yeah? Spies are always around. So you got to really keep yourself in full control, because even though you do practice civil disobedience in a good way, that you're not going to be using violence, there still may be others who are going to be throwing rocks and carrying weapons and provoking the cops so that everybody can get hurt. And that's what we were afraid of in Kalama Valley, that would happen. But it didn't happen that way. Everybody we were in full control of the situation, and we didn't have any weapons. Although some of the syndicate types, he showed us weapons, yeah? And they would take people like Kalani them around, yeah? And talk story to them and tell, hey, we get all these weapons and this and that, but no, we didn't. Kalani was smart enough not to fall for that shit. Kalani was smart, he knows better. We didn't fall for that stuff. Because I think he was being provoked by the cops to do that, yeah?
To instigate.
Yeah,
right?
to instigate. He was being provoked. I'm going to get these young guys, and I'm going to sell them weapons or give them weapons and exploited. But don't be the kind, though. Don't be turning the other cheek and accepting pain,
Yeah.
Don't be doing that, yeah?
You gotta be dialectical.
Yeah, exactly. Well, because right now, the ruling class, they like to praise Martin Luther King, and they only talk about he had a dream, and he was nonviolent. They don't like talk about the guy now, Malcolm X, because he said the chickens are coming home to roost, yeah? And you get pictures of Malcolm with a gun defending his home, yeah? He had every right to defend his family.
He had every right.
He had
the
every
Black
right
Panthers
to.
still, they had to defend themselves.
That's right, they had to defend themselves, yeah? And that's where it came from. We had, what do you call that now, the slop detail. Yeah. People would go with George to pick up the slop, and then they would cook it, and it would change every day. We'd have it like, and then we had people working in the garden every day. And we had people cooking meals every day, and we had people bringing in kids and showing them around every day. The work was organized.
So it's like you guys' occupation.
Yeah, we had an occupation for over a month, And so what it was a real occupation. We had, a political education committee, and they would educate people in the community. We had people like Linton Park. Yeah, Linton Park. He had responsibility for the press. He got the word out to the general community, because I believe there were over 100 articles, during that period about Kalama Valley in the Advertiser and Star Bulletin. That's what I had read. Over 100 articles. It was in there every few days or every day or something like that. There was always an article going on about Kalama Valley. And, a group of people that would go out and work with George, that would change all the time, because you wouldn't have to slop pigs with George all the time, yeah? You want to hear a side story, a funny one? Okay, what happened was that, George would always, he's an older Portuguese guy, yeah? He would come up with some stuff, that was pretty racist, what do you expect, yeah, from an old Portuguese, yeah? And then, and then he would say, you Filipinos, you only come over here and you guys like the pigs for free. Okay, that's okay. And which is true. We like your pig for free. We like pay nothing for them. We'll pick up the slop and we'll expect you to give us the pig. But then he would say, he would always complain about somebody, And then one time, he would complain about Samoans, And I got really pissed off. I said, what the fuck are you talking about the Samoans for? They never do nothing wrong, you know what I mean? I'm not going to work with you no more. I'm not going to work with you. George is a fucking racist. I ain't going to work with you. So I never worked with George for a couple of days. And slowly got really pissed off with me. So you're a idiot. George is an old Portuguese man. I mean? He can say whatever he like. He don't mean nothing. Yeah, but George isn't a racist. He goes, don't worry about that. That's a bunch of bullshit. So I had to go back and work with George. I had to apologize.
You have to apologize?
And he told me, in the middle of my apology, he told me, shut up, I just need you for come work. So he told me, he not against Samoans. He hates everybody. And then we had a team of people that would go out into the community, to the high schools, and talk to the schools about Kalama Valley, yeah? You know? And I remember we went to, what do you call that intermediate school? Washington Intermediate.
Yeah.
Yeah. We went to Washington Intermediate, and I believe it was Claire and myself and somebody else, maybe Randy Suzuki, and then we were talking, and we came up with some stuff that sounded really anti-Hawai'i, yeah? You know? And the Hawai'i kids are getting slapped around in the class when after we were talking like that, because they picked up on the anti-Hawai'i attitude. Yeah, I knew something was wrong. Yeah, what we was preaching was the wrong stuff. Yeah, I could see some of that in our in some of our propaganda, that there was some anti-Hawai'i stuff. You got to be careful about that kind of things. Yeah, and then the teacher was saying, she was talking about that. She was saying, some of the Hawai'i kids in this class, I think it was an Oriental teacher, she was saying, are pretty uncomfortable, some of the white students, the way you guys are talking. Isn't this for everybody? Like that, yeah? And then, more or less we would come and say, well, this is not for the Hawai'is, something like that. We come up with some pretty bad stuff, yeah. But we're involved in the thick of things, yeah?
Sure, yeah. I mean,
and we were beginning to find out our history and stuff, yeah? Our history, our way for ethnic studies, which came up later, yeah. But we had done some things that were foolish, yeah. Of course, of trying to find truth, developing consciousness, you make a lot of mistakes, yeah. But you got to grow from that, yeah.
Right.
You can't live in those mistakes and make those mistakes truisms. By that time of the third arrest, I got arrested in the valley with the rest of them. Yeah.
Can you talk about what happened at the time you guys got arrested the third time? You were in the. You guys were living in the valley already.
Yeah, we were living in the valley already. We were there for about a month. Yeah. You know what I mean? And we knew when they were coming. And so what happened was that I believe Soli was denied entrance and Larry K were denied entrance in coming. Yeah, he was denied entrance. They were denied entrance and coming in, and they were really pissed off because they wanted to get arrested with everybody else, yeah. And so, because they were telephoned and told that the arrest was happening, and so it was decided, sometime earlier that we're all going to climb the roof of George's house and make it harder for them to go get us, yeah. I was just hoping the roof wasn't going to cave in, So we all went up on the roof, and there were some people that were down, sitting down on the outside. So I think about a week or so before the arrest, we had decided to get on the roof,
So you went up on the roof?
Yeah, I was on the roof. It was all skinny back then, yeah, skinny and young, So anyway, what happened was that we went up the roof, and they took us down, and then they took us to the police station, and then we spent some time in court, of which Herb was our lawyer, yeah. He was our lawyer. But anyway, what happened was that it took maybe about a week or so before we got on the roof, we decided to get up there, yeah. And it was unfortunate that Larry K and Soli were not there, Larry Kamakavivol and Soli, because they were the main organizers, yeah, in a lot of ways. But they weren't there, yeah, because they were locked out on the outside.
You think there was a reason that they got separated? Maybe people.
Maybe they decided since they had them there, they was going to close it down because they were afraid of people like Soli, yeah.
Soli and Larry.
Larry K. They were afraid of them because those guys are charismatic. Soli, he was a real leader back then.
Yeah, he was charismatic.
Yeah, charismatic. Yeah, and what do you call that? And so was Larry K. Yeah. Larry K. was sort of he's a good speaker, very good speaker, very religious. Yeah, his style of speaking. So a lot of the black activists, they have that. Evangelical style about them. Larry had that, yeah. And I still remember one of his sayings was all the way from Kekaha, which is Kauai on this island, to Miloli'i. He would always say stuff like that, yeah. We're on the move, and we're fighting evictions, He used to get me stirred up with his speeches, Larry was pretty. And another good speaker who developed along the way, but after Kalama Valley, was Pete Thompson. He developed into a good speaker. He was a very smart individual.
Very smart.
Yeah, very smart. I really respected him. He gave a lot. He gave his all. Him and Sylvia to the movement and stuff. And he could research really well. He got his facts together really good. And he was able to explain himself. It's pretty interesting because a lot of us had skills back then. Yeah. That we didn't realize that we really had until we got older, yeah. But I miss somebody like Pete because he was a real good debater, yeah. And I think he was the main reason why in a lot of ways why we won Waiho'ole Waikani was people like Pete.
Yeah.
He was able to organize everybody.
Pete and Joy.
Yeah, Pete and Joy.
And he
Like,
brought it out to the community. Too.
yeah,
know,
you can imagine if they organized by race only. Well, they're gonna tell, say, Sarah Kaku and those guys, they don't can come over there.
You know, there's a lot of Filipino farmers.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if Haunani Trust got a hold of that thing, we would have lost. We would have
The
lost.
thing too is
You know?
they are changing the narrative of what happened in Waiho'ole Waikani.
Yeah,
You know,
they're changing the narrative.
Yeah, and with Kalama Valley. And
Yeah.
that's the reason why this is such an important project, because, you know, these people, these academics, you know, these radical academics, they're changing the narrative, you know, and this is the narrative that the kids are hearing.
If it wasn't for a Marxist outlook, we would have lost Waiho'ole Waikani. But we won it because we were guided by, we were doing it by the principles based on class struggle, yeah? And militant class struggle went to the guy's home and everything and demonstrated, yeah?
Yeah,
You know,
oh,
so
those are so good.
those are so good, yeah?
Effective, yeah.
And those were effective. That's the kind of stuff that we've done. We gotta continue doing that again.
National thing.
And from the beginning, it was a multinational thing from the very beginning. Because I know, you know, because I was part of it from the very beginning.
Yeah.
It was a multinational
That's why it's so
fight.
important for this
Yeah,
project.
it's a multinational fight. In fact, I remember writing one stupid editorial at one time, you know, for us guys to use for our own education and what is a local, eh? And the local was the native Hawaiians and the people in Hawaii who came from plantation history, yeah? Plantation ancestry. You know, that forms the local base of what is the base of what is a local in Hawaii. And so I think they're changing the narrative, which is wrong, because from the very beginning, Kalama Valley was a multinational struggle. Same thing with Waiho'ole Waikani. It was organized on that basis, you know.
And a lot of his leaders too. I mean, when you know, like Soli, you know, Pete, you know,
Yeah.
Larry. I
Yeah.
mean, they of course they had to look at it in terms of the Hawaiian, the Hawaiian background, but they look at it they have a larger overall picture.
They had a larger overall picture. That's why I gotta go give you guys one poster. I'm gonna make them. I'm gonna give them to you on Harry Kamoku.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's really, really important because he organized everybody, and that's how we're gonna win. Yeah. And I sincerely believe that today. I think that we gotta organize all those that can be united against the common enemy. Yeah. And there is something as race, there is something as national oppression, but it's within the context of the whole struggle, you know. And we have to change society and change the world. We're not gonna put one group of people in over another group based on race, yeah, or bloodline or quantum or whatever it is. You know, and I think if you go that way, it's gonna be wrong, you know. I think my role was just as an activist supporter in the beginning, yeah, and getting the word out to other young people about the struggle, you know, and being brought up in Hawaii, being local, you know, being mixed blood like half the population, I could relate to it, yeah. But I could relate also to the Hawaiian struggle because being born and raised in Hawaii, you know that the history of the Hawaiians, how their lands got taken away, yeah. But also within my family, I have Hawaiians and part Hawaiians, all kind of different nationality, yeah. And so my family is very multicultural, you know, and I've always lived in multicultural neighborhoods, all kind of different races, yeah. And one thing they had in common was they get up in the morning, the fathers they go work and they come back home, yeah. Everybody was working in the same jobs, yeah, working on construction or working in county or you know, whatever, yeah. Everybody was working. It was a blue collar neighborhood, yeah. That's what we had in common, and we never have our friendships based on race. We ate everybody's house, they ate our house, we played with everybody, you know. We had all kinds of different nationalities we played with. So Kalama Valley was really a natural thing for me to get into, the multicultural thing of uniting everybody, you know, together for the betterment of all. That's where it came for me, you know. But as a young person, you know, at that time, it was really important for me to be an activist and to share the word what was going on. That was my role at that time. And then later on, as I became older, I got more involved in community struggles, you know, and always working at the same time. So I always had my foot in labor too, yeah, you know, as a printer, yeah. And then what do you call that now? Today, you know, I see myself as you know, as an activist. You know, I don't see myself as a leader. I may see myself as an activist. And with the experiences that I have, I like to write and share it with others, you know. And so Kalama Valley is a big part of my life in that I find it a very constructive struggle, because it educated me that if we organize and we can fight back, we'll be able to win. Maybe not right away, but in the future, yeah. You know, we'll plant the seeds for what do you call that now? For others to get involved, you know. And that's what it is today. I'm an old fart, but I'm 67 years old. Next month I'm gonna be 68, but I still get plenty of gasoline, yeah. My tires may be flat, but you know, still get gas in the car, can still go, can still move, you know what I mean? If I gotta push the car, I gotta make like the Flintstones, make one hole and move them. I think I can. The struggle has given me purpose in life, yeah. You know, yeah, and ever since I was involved, you know, at 16, 17 years old, I never drop out, you know. I've been into it ever since, yeah. You know, there are times that my family have to be priority, you know, and there's other things that are priority, but I was always doing something, and I've never dropped out of it. And so I'm not upset with people when they drop out, or they got family things to do, whatever, because I understand that, you know, it takes a long time. Yeah, contradiction. There's always emotion, yeah. And so that's the thing that gives me purpose, is getting involved. Yeah. That's why I do what I'm doing today. There's a lot of people in Hawaii, in particular Native Hawaiians, you know, Kanaka Maoli, that are really interested in preserving their culture, yeah, and fighting for their land. And the struggle in Kalama Valley helped to contribute to that, yeah. And so it also contributed to a consciousness of common people, the Makainana of all different nationalities, fighting for a better life, you know. And it's contributed to that as well. And so I think Kalama Valley had a lot to do with that, yeah. For me it did, you know. For me it continued, I'm continuing to be in the struggle today, you know, because of it.